My next guest, NFL Network analyst, head honcho, draft guru, and former quarterback, as we're seeing. As you look at those highlights, Daniel Jeremiah, what comes to mind? How are you?
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. What comes to mind is I didn't know which one of my three career highlights you guys would post. So it was like really a shock and an exciting moment there to see that one. With some expert analysis on Fox Sports Net, I'm going to go like 7, maybe Fox Sports Net
Okay.
7 for that big Furman App State game.
I love that. App State, the Mountaineers, you got to love them. Got to love having you on the show. I know this is your busy time, so thank you very much. But I also hear that you're reviewing hotels. Did you stay at the White Lotus Hotel? A whisper just told me.
So yeah, well, I didn't. I've heard about the show, right? I'm one of the rare people who haven't seen it. So then when we checked into the hotel in Maui, and they're like, somebody had said, "Oh yeah, this is where they shoot the White Lotus." So I get up in the room, and an episode was on, and I just happened to be watching an episode, and a guy was just like getting a massage in the hotel, and it was like I watched for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, there's nothing really going on here. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening. I'm lost, and I ejected.
I feel like that was season one, was the Hawaii
Okay.
season. Then it was
Yeah.
Italy, and now it's Thailand. But I love that you even take a vacation. I don't know. You need to teach a masterclass or a TED talk on time management because you know all the nitty gritty. And I bet you could even tell me plays there. The 1998 App State versus Furman, which is amazing on that 36-yard touchdown pass. I want to get into obviously the biggest headlines. There's the Shedeur. There's everything. They had the showcase over the weekend. It was all over Twitter. Jets safety Andre Cisco said that Shedeur Sanders was patting the ball before throwing during drills, which sparks this whole debate that I don't know how much I should care about. How much does it matter?
Well, it depends. I mean, it not in a big way. To me, it's a combination of if you're a patter of the football and you have a slower delivery and you lack arm strength, then you have a problem. But you can go back and watch John Elway, who he will pat the ball, but his delivery was so quick and his arm was so dynamic. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's been kind of the history throughout. So he does not have a huge arm, but it's enough. Like he has enough of an arm. Cam Ward has a stronger arm than he does. But Shedeur has enough of an arm there, and that's something that really is pretty easily coachable. If that is an issue for someone, if they feel like it's an issue, it's an easy fix.
Thanks for clearing that up. I need like a direct line to you to get these questions answered. I saw also the Titans, they canceled, they mutually decided and agreed to not have a private workout. I cannot imagine why that would be a good idea for the Titans. What's going on? What do I need to know?
I just think they're locked in. I think once they kind of zeroed in on Cam Ward, and then I think they're out of the generosity of just saying, hey, we're done. We're down this road. We've already seen Cam. We visited with Cam. We're at the pro day. We went to your pro day out of respect for the career that you've had, also to see Travis. But at this point in time, we've done all of our homework. We're locked in on our decision. So let's not waste any of your time as you try and prepare. I mean, I think what some people don't realize is on some of these visits, like teams will give, I know one team gave a quarterback in this year's draft like a 60-page playbook, and he had 5 days to show up on his visit and show a command and an understanding of those 60 pages. Now, imagine the relief. You want to get drafted and you want to give everybody an opportunity, but just having one of those teams removed off of your list as you're trying to study up and get prepared for all these visits, I'm sure they were more than okay with it, knowing that they weren't going to be there anyways.
I don't like it for a Titan. I don't like it as a Titans, like just the PR of it. You should be taking every opportunity to size up these guys, no matter what it takes until the draft. Like, even if, I don't know, there's something about like, if Shedeur turns out to be better than Cam in the long run, it's going to be a bad look or something that the Titans didn't have that private workout. Is there anything to that? Like, why does my mind go there?
Well, last year, because you're thinking of last year, and the Bears locked in on Caleb so early and kind of shut that process down. Obviously, Jaden goes on to have this unbelievable run all the way to the NFC Championship game. So I think that's probably in the back of your mind and the back of others' minds. I just think in this scenario, I think I see it as a little bit of a gap there. I think the league sees it as a pretty good gap where, he's not really in that mix. He's not really in that conversation with Cam at this point in time. So that's why they did it. I just thought they missed the opportunity to use the phrase conscious uncoupling in the press release, but neither here nor there.
It's very well said. Conscious uncoupling. Shout out Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin there. As the pop culture references rage on.
That was a one-off. Never to be used again, by the way. Just a one-off.
I've consciously uncoupled with several people since that was popular. I don't know what you're talking about, DJ. If the Browns and Giants do in fact pass on Shedeur, where
Yeah.
dost thou land?
It gets interesting. I mean, I don't feel like the Raiders would be in the mix there. It just feels like with Geno and then with Pete at his age, and there's a urgency to kind of get this thing going right now and draft somebody at 6 that can help them, versus taking your long-term quarterback. So I don't feel good about that. I do feel like Justin Fields is going to get some runway there with the Jets, so you take them out of the mix. Really, the next team is 9 is the Saints, and that's where the real conversation starts, because if he gets beyond 9K, now you start looking at it. You're hoping, if you're Shedeur, you're hoping that it's the Rams maybe that end that slide, or at that point in time, on the broadcast, we're going to start talking about, are those teams, the Giants, the Browns, if they've passed on quarterbacks, are they coming back in? So that's where it gets pretty interesting. 9 is, to me, a very pivotal moment.
That would be wild to see. How often do you hear from Dion?
No, I saw him at the Big 12 Pro Day, but I have not been in contact with him in quite some time. He's got his hands full up there in Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, I wish them all the luck. I mean, then there's a Steelers part of all this. You mentioned being part of the broadcast and what's going to happen. What is like the one, and how long have you been doing this now? Like 2012, 2013?
So this is my 2013 was my first one. Yeah.
What is the most stunned you've ever been on draft night?
Ooh, I would say two that come to mind. The first one would be the Mitch Trubisky trade up. We thought that at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I think we thought they were taking Solomon Thomas. And then they took Trubisky, and we were kind of just stunned, like one of those moments where you're kind of speechless. So that was one that stood out. And then I think the Raiders, when they took Cleveland Farrell, I think it was at 4.
Oh, that's a good.
That one was a shocker too. So those are like the 2 moments where you're kind of on the desk, and it like give you a peek behind the scenes. Like you've got your computer. I've got all my notes on the players. I've got these sheets, that have like the team needs and their picks and what they've done in free agency. And you're just kind of mapping it out. And you're like, okay, it's going to be, especially in the top 5 of the draft, you're like, it's going to be one of these 2 or 3 players. So you're just kind of going over, okay, if it's this player, this makes sense for this reason and why they would do this versus that. So you're just kind of taking these 3 different options in 3 different scenarios and running it through your head. And then all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, wait, what? Like, whoa, okay, now you got to kind of like, you're trying to like swallow the sandwich in one bite there and be able to process that and spit out something that makes sense.
And then you have an icon in Rich Eisen, who is like the biggest Jets fan ever. There's rumors they're trading Breece Hall. There's rumors they're moving up, moving down, whatever. How real is that? What is that like when the Jets perennially do something and you have Rich Eisen, the seasoned icon broadcaster, but then also truly a visceral Jets fan?
Well, the fun part is, players gets picked. You're at the podium with the commissioner. The camera's not on us, and then it's going to cut from that to a picture of the player. So that's the sweet spot. We know each other so well after all these years. Like he doesn't need to say a word. I can look at his face and I can tell if this is a fun moment or this is an eye roll of like, oh boy, here we go again. But the nonverbal communication on that desk is pretty fun.
I love that. The Steelers, of course, they pick at what, 21? You're my draft like speed session here. What do you think they do at 21?
I think if Jackson Dart's there, I think there's a conversation. Shedeur's there, there's a conversation. I just feel like if the Aaron Rodgers thing gets done, which everybody's kind of expecting that does get done, I think they try and get another player to help him on that side of the ball. So I think, to me, you're looking at another weapon, whether that's Emeka, Buka, someone like that. We'll see if McMillan's still there from Arizona. Teams are kind of split on him, all over the map on him. But I would think if you're going to make that commitment and kind of go out on that ledge and do the Aaron Rodgers thing after, kind of sitting out on some of these other quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Sam Darnold, missing out on that one, that, man, you got to get somebody that's going to make that decision look smart.
I mean, we have Rappaport, NFL Media, your buddy, this morning saying that Rodgers' retirement unlikely, Steelers and Rodgers positive momentum. I don't think that Aaron makes that deal without knowing what their plan is. And he's not going to like take kindly to them taking Jordan Love part 2.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Yeah, I would be with you on that one.
I heard this Milroe, Jalen, the
Yeah.
Alabama quarterback, he's going to the draft in Green Bay. How do I interpret that? Because he's not a lock to go in the first round, is he?
No, not at all. I think it would be a surprise if he went in the first round. But there's been, you hear all kinds of stuff during these last few weeks, and one of the teams I have heard him connected to is Cleveland. So that's not going to be up there, where Cleveland's picking in at the top of the first round. But in kind of that, let's get the fifth year option scenario, let's try and get back in and take one late. Maybe potentially that's where he could fall in. I thought he was pretty much a lock to be a day 2 pick at some point in time. But the fact that he's going to the draft, I don't know the reasoning there. I haven't seen the entire list. Is there a want to have some guys there for the second night, or is he
Oh,
the one, or is he the one name that just looks kind of like, wow, that one's kind of out of left field a little bit for surrounded by other guys we assume will go in the first round.
I'd like to see Cleveland trade up in there from the top of the second. I'd be down for that. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know
I,
why he'd go.
I think Cleveland's going to get a quarterback with one of their first 2 picks, and I don't think it's going to be their first one. So I think the question is, do you be patient? Are you comfortable with a few of these guys where you can just sit and wait? Or do you get a little antsy, a little jumpy, and maybe want the 5th year, or do you come back in? So again, I think Cleveland will end up with another quarterback on their roster. We'll see what happens with Cousins, out into the future. But I do think they'll get a young guy.
I spent some time with Elliot Wolf at owners meetings. I know Patriots fans rooting for Shedeur to come off the board early on draft night. But if Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are both off the board, Pats are on the clock. They're at 4. DJ, what's their best move?
Pick up the phone, call somebody, and get the heck out of there. That's because I think they need offensive line so bad, and
Yeah.
I don't think you want to do that there. I don't know that you feel like there's great value there at that point in time. You got to do something to help Drake May. So that to me is I just don't know who's coming up for anybody. If you could maybe scare somebody into coming up for Ashton Genty, but trading up for a running back, I don't know. We see that very often. So man, I think they're hoping and praying that Shedeur goes ahead of them, and then we have 2 quarterbacks gone, and they're guaranteed to get somebody there. And even at that point in time, you're like, okay, maybe this isn't an offensive player in Abdul Carter, but he's such a dynamic player and such a value that you have no problem turning in that card. If we only have one quarterback go, and if the top 2 players in the draft for me, which are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, are gone,
Mm-hmm.
man, the Patriots, they're going to elicit some moans with whoever they take, because somebody's going to have a problem with saying it's a reach. It just so happens in this draft it kind of falls off after those 2 big time guys are gone.
Will Campbell, I know, is on your top 50 list. You have him at 10. Too much of a reach to go tackle?
No, I mean, I think that's probably what the direction they would go. Is just take Will Campbell. We need to upgrade that position, and ideally, you'd like to be able to get back a few spots, maybe get an extra, day 2 or early day 3 pick and take him. But sometimes the phone doesn't ring and you're stuck. And if you're stuck and you've got a pick, I think that's probably one of the ones that makes the most sense.
What's the most intriguing thing, in your opinion, about the whole Travis Hunter showcase? He does receiver drills at the showcase he was just
Yeah.
in. I think we have what he wants the commissioner to call out on draft day. Let's take a listen.
Position do you want to hear the commissioner say when he says Travis Hunter?
He better say wide receiver and DB. He got to.
So just wide receiver, DB, not athlete?
Nah, I need him to say wide receiver and DB.
What do you think?
I think the fascinating part of his evaluation is that when you have a 2-way player, it's always been thought that if you're going to try and do both, at least to some degree, you have to major in defense and minor on offense. You play full time on defense, we give you a package of plays on offense. That's the easiest way to try and get that done. But I can tell even by his answer right there, he 100% wants to be on the field every offensive snap. So you're going to have to flip the script a little bit. I think he's going to end up majoring on offense, and you're going to find, opportunities to get him on the field on defense, whether that's just third downs. Is he going to go out there for those 12 to 15 plays and just play on third downs? I mean, that's a value add to do that. But we just have never seen that. We've always seen it the other way around. And it seems like he is, based off of those comments, based off of his choice to just do receiver drills, I think he wants to play wide receiver as his main spot.
Does it matter what he wants though? Like where's his highest ceiling?
Well, to me, I think he's a better receiver than he is a corner. And that's being said, he's the best receiver and the best corner in the entire draft. But I do think he's, I think he's just so natural and so at ease and is such a playmaker. You see this at all different levels, from high school to college and to the NFL, where these kids that are the best athletes, they're putting them on offense. They're putting them at receiver because they can impact the game so much. They're touch the ball and score points. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about there's not many guys that are going to be big time touchdown producers, at the receiver position in this draft. And like, he is. So he's someone you want to score points. You got a stagnant offense. He jumpstarts that thing.
I mean, it's true. I feel like, and he's, number 1 and 2, him and Abdul Carter on your list, your top 50 players. You can check that out over at NFL.com, all over NFL media, all over NFL Network. But then, like, who's the number 2 guy? Let's take a look here. No one behind Travis Hunter. There's not the standout number 2, the cemented guy. Why is there no consensus at this point? Who do you like?
Well, this year I got a text from our buddy Kurt Warner, and he was going through the receivers, and I don't even remember which one it was, but he sent me a text, and he's like, "You really think this guy's a number 1?" And I'm like, "Kurt, there are no number 1s. Like this is not what we had last year. It's not what we've had in years past. There's a lot of number 2 and number 3 type wide receivers." So for me, I'm a big fan of Matthew Golden because I know exactly what he is. He's someone who can get on top. He's got speed. I don't know that he plays to the 4.29 that he ran, which is a ridiculous time. But he's really strong. He's tough. I like the fact that he keeps his cleats in the ground. He runs through the ball. He trusts his hands. Him and Emeka Egbuka, I feel like I know exactly what I'm buying with those guys. I know who and what they are. I think they're going to be solid players. Tet McMillan has the most upside of the 4 to the right there, Travis Hunter being in his own category. McMillan has the size. He's very fluid. He's very smooth. I just wish he played a little stronger, a little sturdier. I wish he fought a little bit more through press. I wish he fought a little bit more down the field. And then Luther Burden is unbelievable after the catch, but it isn't running a lot of traditional routes, and it didn't have as good a year this year as he would have hoped. So in a year where you've kind of got some wild variations, the reason I have Golden and Egbuka there is I just feel like those are solid B pluses, and I know exactly what I'm buying.
In 10 years, we will look back at the 2025 NFL draft, and what we'll be talking about. When we look back, what will we remember?
Oh my gosh. I'll say that the just the overall depth of the defensive line was good. I just think you'll look around the league, and there'll be a lot of starts represented by this draft. And I've used the phrase, Kay, that this is a starters, not stars draft. This is a draft to go out and get yourself 3 or 4 starters. You can rely on. They're dependable. You're not going to be looking to replace them. But I don't know that this is an Instagram draft. I don't know that we're going to be seeing highlights splashed all over the place from this group.
This isn't an Instagram draft. I love that. But then you have like
Travis Hunter. That's not what I'm going to say when we come on the air Thursday night.
No, of course. But I mean, Shedeur's going to be a huge star, a huge story either way. Yeah. Travis Hunter, like how often do you see that? It's exciting, but it's not an Instagram. I mean, how many receivers do you think go in the first round?
I think we'll see 2. I would say 2 to 3. I think there's a good chance that some teams are just going to wait on that. This is a sick pup draft. I think it's like for the sickos, for the sickos, the D line.
Hamilton's
like you're speaking this thing.
You're speaking Hammy's language. He wants to talk about the fullbacks. I have some rapid fire questions for you before you go.
Go
who is a late round prospect that I need to be talking about? Make me smart at the bar draft weekend.
Ooh. All right, late round prospect that you need to be talking about. Let's go to the wide receivers because I think we talked about that. You're trying to find some value in a year that's not totally stacked and loaded at the position. This is going to be probably more of a mid-round pick at this point in time, but Kyle Williams probably goes in the 4th round out of Washington State, and he's really good off the line of scrimmage, really good releases, catches the ball easy. Not the biggest guy, but he's got some twitch, some explosiveness to him, and I just think every year we kind of see one of these guys pop in like that 4th round range. So he's one that I really like out of Washington State. So I'll go Kyle Williams. And the fact that that's not the first Kyle Williams, maybe not even the 10th Kyle Williams to play in the NFL. It's a good name. It's a good receiver name.
It's a good name. Absolutely. What's going to be your biggest change in mock draft 4.0?
Well, 4.0 would be the last one. So that's when you have the most information, and that's when things start to settle in a little bit. So in terms of big changes, I would say these defensive edge rushers right now, that's been really in flux where you could have some teams have a guy at 2, another guy have him at 5, and vice versa. I think you'll see the dust start to settle a little bit there.
Do you already know what you're wearing draft night?
I don't. I did buy some new sport coats before the combine, so I'm guessing one of those 3. But those all have like a pattern to them, and I just feel like night 1 is I feel like that's a businessman. I think I need to go with a solid coat. So I might go buy a solid coat, a new solid coat for that one.
Love that for you. What is it? This is tough because you love everything about you are a sick pup. You are the president of the Sick Pup fan club. What's the worst part of this? What is the worst part of your job? Is it hearing from fans, the vitriol? Like, what is it?
No, the worst part is
Tough
when you're
question.
at the draft and you're getting texts from GMs because it's so funny. Like they'll be like, you didn't sell, they feel like we sold their pick
Yeah,
enough.
of course.
Or why are you giving so much love to this other guy when he didn't do this, that, or the other? There's a sneaky pettiness amongst some of the GMs.
Yeah,
in terms
you're
of the
like, let me
attention they
mute you,
get or
Howie
don't get.
Roseman. We get
Yeah.
you. I mean, when the Eagles come on the
No.
clock, we're like, you've
Howie's
got to
not
be
that
on your
way.
toes, though. No, I know. I love Howie. But my thing, that's when I perk up as a fan at home and I'm watching. I'm like, oh, Eagles. What are they like? I'm just
Yeah.
that's the must see TV. That's the stick a GoPro on Howie's head and like let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fun. The banter back and forth is a lot. Most of it's fun, but every now and then they get a little jumpy.
What is the pick that you are most proud of being right on? Like the guy, the prospect.
Oh gosh. There's been guys, I go all the way back, like way back, and this is when I was even scouting. Like, I don't know why this one always jumps right to the forefront, but I loved Logan Mankins when he was coming out of Fresno State. So I always just think
Monster
back to that one.
maniac.
He was so good, and he was like in Baltimore at that time. You could put a red star on one player; it didn't matter where they were going to go in the draft. Like, this is your favorite player, and he was mostly assumed to go in like the 2nd or 3rd round. So I put the red star on him, and then the Patriots took him in the 1st round, and it was like, okay, the
And then
smart
dealt
team
him.
took the guy, So, but he had a heck of a run along.
Heck of a run. Who's one that you're like, oh, don't put that on my resume? Who's your
Oh,
I mean,
Patrick
you
Mahomes.
you said Cleveland
Patrick
Farrell,
Mahomes.
so I'm just gonna say who's your Cleveland Farrell?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is about as bad as it gets. I mean, he
Oh,
was like
yeah.
he was a boom, like a legit
That was
boom or
everyone.
bust. And that was like the greatest imagination of what the boom could look like. He's like
Yeah.
10 levels above that. So, but I always look at those. I really do look at that stuff as opportunities to like, what can you learn to take that lesson that you learned from that on to the next? And
What
with
was the
him,
lesson in Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, it was very clear. It was this guy had the raw talent. And then on top of that, the 2 things, he had the work ethic and the intelligence. So that's when I was like, okay, if maybe the picture's not all colored in on some of these guys, but
Yeah.
if they have those 3 things, they have the raw talent, everything you find out about them is they have an insatiable desire to be great. And then you find out on top of that, oh yeah, the guy's brilliant. Like, those guys don't fail. They
So would
figure
you
it out.
subscribe? Would you subscribe to the theory that if the fit didn't matter as much, wherever Patrick would have gone, he would have been this great?
I think it was perfect fit for him to hit his stride earlier. I think he would have eventually figured it out no matter where he would have gone, and it would have taken teams a while to put all the necessary pieces around him. But maybe it wouldn't have the level of team success that he's had because you are still dependent at that position with the other places things in place. But he would have been really good.
You say these GMs text you. What about the owners wanting you to be a GM? Like, let's just cut to the chase here. What's the interest level? What's it going to take to, lure you away? What's your relationship with being a GM?
I don't really have a lot of interest there. Okay, I had a lot of opportunities over the last decade to be the number 2 guy places. Nothing seriously in terms of being a general manager, taking interviews, doing those things. But when I've been approached and talked to people about opportunities, I'm like, I don't know. I just think there's 32 of those guys. There's really me and Mel as terms of like a quote unquote lead analyst for the two shops that have the draft. There's only 2 of us. I get to do all the fun stuff of a GM job in terms of watching and talking and ranking players. And that's the stuff that I love without having to do all the other nonsense. So I'm happy.
Oh, well, really well said. That's right. You got to come with a better, sweeter offer for the services of Daniel Jeremiah. Check out all of your stuff over on NFL Media. Thank you so much for the time. You said your 4.0 is your last one. But all of but you can check out everything else all over NFL Media. And of course, the podcast. Tell Bucky I say hello.
I will do it. Thanks, Kay. Great to see you.